research experience for undergraduates that's funded by the government, by the National Science Foundation. And it's in the field of ecology. And so those of you that might not be familiar with ecology, it's actually just studying how animals acquire and respond to information in their environment. And our department is, I think, somewhat unique across the nation in that we have a good concentration of scientists that specifically study sensory ecology and try and understand how animals behave. And so, what does that really mean? It means that researchers are interested in, well, what's out there in terms of things that an animal can detect. There's light, there's sound, there's chemicals. As I mentioned, I smell, so that's the detection of chemicals. And then how do animals detect it? How do eyes work? How do ears and noses work? What are animals capable of detecting? And how do they go about doing that? And so a number of researchers focus on that. It's sort of these sensory organs. And then also, what do animals do with it? You may detect something, and then it's somewhat of a decision whether or not you're going to do something, animal behavior. And so there are researchers that focus really on trying to understand the behavior itself of the animals. And so it's all of these sort of layers that go into how we as humans, right, and also other animals, acquire information and then decide to behave or not relative to some stimulus. And so I find it fascinating as a sensory ecologist myself because it also is a field that crosses a lot of different fields, right? And so when you're thinking about how an animal behaves and how it detects chemicals, let's say, that involves the brain, right? The behavior is ultimately a manifestation of what goes on in the brain. So it crosses fields like neurobiology and behavior, and it crosses fields like ecology and evolution. How do they behave in a natural environment, for example? And how do they sense things? And so this is just in bold, a snapshot of some of the topical areas that researchers and some of the mentors focus on. So some are more neural mechanisms of how senses work, or genetic mechanisms, how senses work, or others are interested in more of the ecological questions related to how animals move, etc. And and here's just one example of a mentor that actually crosses fields even more dramatically, that I would argue, than the other mentors do, like more dramatically than genetics and neuroscience or behavior and genetics. Dieter van der Elst is one of the mentors that actually crosses between biology and engineering. And so he's interested in echolocation in bats, right? How they navigate in the dark using sonar. And in order to understand that, he uses robots. So you might say, if I understand how that bat there can grab that dragonfly off of a fake leaf that's covered in sensors, perhaps you should be able to then to give some simple rules to a robot, and they should behave believe a sonar seeking bat would behave, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. And so what he does, one of the studies he does, is he scans bat heads, prints 3D ears, and then puts them on robots, and then studies their movement in an obstacle-filled room. And he's interested specifically in understanding bats, right? And bat navigation. On the flip side, you can certainly use the robotics to understand how sort of search and rescue, from a search and rescue perspective, an engineering perspective, how you could deploy this robot in a smoke-filled room or in a dark room, and etc., and have it function. So nuts and bolts, I want to keep the presentation short to leave it open for questions. So nuts and bolts of the program. As I mentioned, it's a summer program. So, and it's at the University of Cincinnati. 10 weeks, May 31st through August 5th, always contingent on COVID, but everything looks good so far. There's a summer stipend. It's paid $6,000. We also house you. We pay to house you in the dorms. Those dorms have kitchens in case you don't want to go out and eat all the time, right? That there's an ability for you to cook your own food, which I like to do after a while. We also provide a travel and meal allowance, and what you really spend your 10 weeks doing is working in a lab. So you interact with faculty and students in the lab, and you're doing research in that lab, and that's what you spend, the majority of your time doing. In addition to doing the research, there'll be weekly meetings where we'll have professional development topics. So we might talk about what it takes to get into graduate school, what graduate school looks like, maybe bring in STEM professionals and what different careers might look like and things to think about when applying for jobs, how you would put together a strong curriculum vitae and or resume and cover letter, those kinds of things. We might also talk about research ethics. And one unique professional, I would argue, professional development part of our program is a science communication training. How do you effectively communicate your ideas and the importance of your work to the public? And so we have a project that collaborates with the Department of Communication and what's called the Digital Media Collaborative here at the university. There's students that are interested in filmmaking, video making, sort of digital media. How do you put together a video that would effectively communicate why the research is important? A lot of professional networks, right, and learning comes not just from the formal environment, but also the informal environment. So there'll be social events as well, right? You sort of bond with your cohort, and you learn a lot just from hanging out with people. And I think that can't be underemphasized. And then at the end, there's a research symposium that's a mini symposium that's open to the public where you do poster presentations. So if you haven't been to Ohio, I actually grew up in New Jersey, and now I'm in Ohio for a job. This is the University of Cincinnati, or at least a little snapshot of it. I think we have a nice campus. It's sort of embedded in urban setting, and it's really a nice campus and a nice place to be. I'm happy here. In the summer, it's to give you a sense of size. We have over 46,000 students, and since we're sort of nestled in an urban area, you could actually walk. It'd probably take you 20 minutes, but you can walk to the Cincinnati Zoo, to the Environmental Protection Agency, to the medical campus as well. Right, other researchers and research settings are in close physical proximity. The Center for Field Studies is about 30-minute drive. And in terms of give you a sense of the department, right, the Department of Biology, we serve probably over 1,200, so 1,000 plus 1,200 undergraduates. We have about 50 graduate students. We have a master's and a PhD program, and we're considered a research-intensive university, i.e., the faculty and students are doing research, right? It's a primary goal. And then the city itself, right? You'll be in the lab a lot, right? Working, but on your projects, but it's good to get out, right? And have a balanced life. So the city itself is, I think, a fun city to be in the summer. It's on the Ohio River. If you like to eat like I do, I think there are lots of good places to eat. There are lots of things to do, from sports to parks to museums, etc. So I think it's an enjoyable city as well. So in terms of the application process, then more nuts and bolts, we're going to start reviewing very soon, February 1st. So if you're interested, please put in an application. It's pretty straightforward application. The final deadline's February 18th, but the sooner the better, I would argue. And you can find the application here at this website. And so it's uc-bio-reu.com. Now the program's funded by the government. So there's some rules that the government sort of places on things. So you got to be an undergraduate, and you have to be a U.S. citizen, U.S. national, permanent resident of the United States. The application, you'll see it on the website. You complete it, you send it to me. You have 2 letters of recommendation sent directly to me. My email address is down below, and then you send in a copy of your transcript to me. It doesn't have to be an official copy, but a copy of your transcript. And then the main chunk of the application, it asks you what's your name, etc. But the main chunk is really why do you wish to participate? So up to 500 words. And really what we're asking is, why do you want to participate in this program, right? There are tons of things to do with your summer. Why this one? So think about that, and how does it fit in with your professional goals, your long-term goals? Or is it exposing you to a different area that you think you might be interested in? Those kinds of things should sort of appear in the essay, in addition to anything else you want to talk about in terms of your experience, right? So here's the contact information again. So here I am. I'm the director of the program, and my email address. So if you have any questions, I hope you'll reach out. As well, and also, this is the co-director, Dr. John Lane. He teaches, so or else he'd be here today to say hi. You could also reach out to John if you want to as well. And then I thought I'd end just by talking more broadly, in case you want to have a conversation more broadly about graduate programs. We have a master's and a PhD program. So if you say, that's nice, Stephanie, sensory ecology, that sounds cool, but not really what I want to do. Maybe I'm more interested in conservation biology. We have have a number of faculty. We don't just have people that study sensory ecology. So if you're interested in grad school in general, interested in, let's say, conservation biology or some other field, please look at our website. I put it sort of down there as well. They would show you all the faculty, right? If you go to the REU website that I put, that's in the chat, that Ms. Craig put in the chat, that'll show you the mentors for the sensory ecology program. It won't show you all of the faculty. I should also, before I forget, mention the application asks you to rank preferences for mentors. So we try and match you, right, with your preference. And in terms of graduate school in general, right, graduate students typically don't pay to go to graduate school, right? They usually function as getting their way paid through teaching assistantships and graduate research assistantships. Just as a FYI about graduate school. So again, I'm putting up here the link to the REU site, and then the link to the graduate program. And would just propose to stop sharing so I can see you better, and then answer any questions you might have. So how do I stop sharing? Or can somebody help me stop sharing?
It should be a square button with the arrow or the X, I think.
Yeah, it says open sharing tray. Is there a way of like, oh, stop presenting. Ha!
There we go.
There we go. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah. I was wondering, like, if you don't have any lab experience, is it still like, you know?
The program is actually designed to, one of the goals of that the National Science Foundation program is to provide experiences to students that may not have had experiences. And so you would join a lab, and they would train you in all the techniques and tools that you need, and provide the supplies, etc. So the Ms. Craig put in my email address. It's also the same. They're sort of linked together. So whether you use the ROLLMASM or use this one, they're the same address. No, they're the exact same address. I don't know why they give me two at EC. So I thought I put them both in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So research experience is definitely not a prerequisite, and by any means.
I had a question. Could you maybe talk about some of the like projects or research that they've done in the past?
The research mentors do?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So you can also find it on their websites as well. So I, for instance, study the sense of smell in insects, and we're interested in genetic and neural basis of behavioral responses to odors. And so students may measure animal behavior and how animals respond to odors. Depending on their interests, they may record from neurons that are responsive to odors as well. One of the mentors, John Lane, studies spatial navigation. He's interested in navigation in animals and color vision in animals. And he uses fiddler crabs as his animal model. Dr. Nate Morehouse is also interested in vision in insects and studies jumping spiders and how they process visual cues. Dr. Elke Bushbeck also studies vision actually in a different insect model, and she actually discovered these really weird, and she probably not like me to call them weird, but really amazing bifocal insect that has a bifocal lens in its eye. And it's been actually inspiration for new cameras have been developed. Excuse me. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Josh Gross, he studies cave fish that live in the caves of Mexico. So they've been devoid of light, and so they've lost their eyes. He's interested in structure of their heads, how their heads have changed with the loss of eyes, how they behave in these kinds of environments, and their evolution and the basis of different morphological, right, physical traits of these animals. There are other mentors as well. Those are just the ones that popped to my mind.
Thank you.
It doesn't fish, yeah. So you would be working on, to answer your question, what students be working on? You'd be working on projects in those labs, those types of topics. And so, you and your mentor preferences. And then if you're accepted into the program, I always tell people there's no harm in emailing the person and saying, I've been accepted to the program and matched with you. I was wondering if you could tell me more specifically what's the actual project, right, that I'm going to be working on, and then make your decision whether that's something you want to do. Other questions? Oh yeah, I could have mentioned like Patrick Guerra. Patrick Guerra goes out in the field, right? Patrick is interested in migration and monarchs, and so out in the field in the summer and collects monarchs and studies their migration to Mexico. There's another one that popped to mind. I think I interrupted somebody.
It was me. So I have a question. It's more of a maybe a technical question that I get all the time on the back end from students. So in going to Cincinnati, I know that you have a stipend that they receive, housing and meal allowances. What about transportation on getting there? Is that the student's responsibility on getting there and coming back, or is that covered by the program as well?
We usually give an allowance. I believe it's about $500 allowance. It really depends on where the person is coming from. But we give a travel allowance, and that would all be outlined in an offer letter, like how much, this is what the meal plan looks like. This is what the travel funds look like. But we certainly don't want you to have to pay for your own flight. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I get that question all the time, so I figured I'd let you answer that.
No, it's a good question. If you're driving, we cover mileage, right, for driving, those kinds of things.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Dr. Roman? Going once? Going twice?
Well, I hope to see your applications or emails with questions.
All right. So if you guys are interested, which I hope you are, you've stayed on the line this long. It sounds like an amazing program, especially for what you guys said that you were striving for your career paths, right? And Jada, I loved what you said where, you want to go ahead and expose yourself to different areas just to make sure that the path of OBGYN is where you want to go. So I love that. And I'm going to share that in another session. So I hope you guys take advantage. I hope you reach out to Dr. Roman and ask your questions, apply. If I'm not, Dr. Roman, correct me if I'm wrong, but You guys begin reviewing applications on February 1st, and the deadline is February 18th. All right. So if you guys know anything that I've said to you before, you want to be on those one of those first people for them to review, right? You don't want to be where they want to accept you, but they don't have any room.
True.
Okay.
And really, I'd say, again, going back to that essay, take a moment, right? I know February 1st is soon. So think it over before you just shoot off something on your essay, and say, why do I want to join this program? What interests me, and how would that position me for the future, and what I'm thinking I want to do, right? Something like that.
Okay. So she's giving you insight, right? She's giving you insight on what to write. Write it down, jot it down, and go ahead and flesh that out. If you guys have any questions, you definitely have her email to reach out to her. You can connect me, but I'm just going to point you to her. So go ahead and reach out to Dr. Roman if you have any other questions. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Roman, thank you so much for having an interest and allowing this opportunity to be open to our Delaware State University students. And we hope that our students will participate in your summer program. I look forward to hearing any outcomes and just feedback of where our students go with you this summer. So thank you so much. If you have anything else to say, please go ahead.
Well, just thanks for bringing us together. I appreciate everything that you're doing as well, and everybody for joining. So stay warm, and hope to see you.
Yes, awesome. All right, stay warm, guys. We have a snowstorm coming up this weekend, so prepare yourselves. Stay masked up, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks again. See you.
Thank you. Have a good one.